So in this section, you can stay on top of the latest COVID-19 development with the smart monitoring system and home quarantine support from our 5 speakers. So our company will again share the insights for about 5 minutes, then we'll have a combined Q&A section. So I would like to invite our first speaker for this panel, Mr. Arthur Chen, Compathnion Technology Limited, to tell us more about the Stay Home Safe app. So over to you, Mr. Chen.
Hello everyone, we are very happy to share our experience on how to deploy home quarantine solution for the citizen in Hong Kong. And our solution is the first home quarantine app published in Apple Store in the world, and it did not check the whereabouts of the citizen, but the relative position of the users. And we highlight the privacy protection and the security of every citizen. So it is the first app to do such location positioning and home quarantine in the world. And for the other country, the solution based on GPS and the other hardware may not work because the GPS may not be accurate in a city-wide level for all the homes. So we have to track different signals and GPS and different sensors in the app and in the hardware to do geofencing and the locationing. And the other pain points of the app is the privacy. How to know that user stay at home without knowing its absolute position is challenging. And we are able to do that by recording the initial position of the users and the changes of the signals. And the other is that we have more than 100,000 users, concurrent users in this platform, and how to filter the potential home quarantine users and who violate the regulation is challenging. And the workflow have to be simple because it's deployed to every citizens, and all the citizens is able to activate the app themselves without any knowledge of the hardware, and it deployed to all different kind of iOS, Android, and iOS during the period. And this app stopped the monitoring once the quarantine period stopped. We are able to deploy in different hardware and software challenge. At the airport, our platform and application need registration. It is held by the staff in the airport, and we use the wristband to track the geofencing of the users. The wristband is created by our partner Skytech, and once the user registered, what they have to do at home is to activate the app. By clicking one button, the position of and the signals of the users is recorded, and during the whole period, we are able to know that the changes of the signals, whether the user is staying at home or they are moving to other places. And we are going to deploy to track multiple locations of the citizens for the government, so that we will record multiple different signal points, and the detection is easy to deploy. During the period, the user only need to see a very simple UI, and all the records and the changes will be submitted to the cloud. Once we got suspected cases, the user will see an alert and scan the wristband, and so that the government can know that who has left their home. And all the signals is submitted to the cloud, and we have more than 60 million records now, and we are able to filter out different potential cases and monitor all the users without violating the privacy, so that we only track the changes of different cell phone and wristband and the signals to filter out who is still staying at home. And based on our experience, we are able to detect the location in different menus too. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chen. So I would like to pass the time to our next speaker, Imali, Mr. Gabriel Chen, to share with us their verifiable digital immunity passport. So I would like to pass the time to you, Mr. Chen.
Thank you. Sawadi Krop, Hom Chi Gabriel, Yindi Ter Dai Ruchak, and I will continue now in English. So a little bit about us. We are building an application called Immunidex, and it's a future of verifiable health. So a little bit about us. Our core competency is in privacy, blockchain, and DLT data exchange. What that means is there are certain ways to build blockchain applications, and there's specific ways to build it such that it is legal and compliant. Therefore, our clients are in the regulated industries such as government, financial, and education sectors. So an overview of what the problem we're solving is that in peacetime, there would be less reason to carry or fake your health data, but in a pandemic situation, that increases a lot. So we're trying to solve the problem of health records of sorts such that they are verifiable. That means that you can be certain to a high degree that they're reliable, and you can also verify the information. And finally, it is privacy preserving. So since we don't have so much time, we'll go over our two main products. The first one is basically a digital and reliable and verifiable format of this form. So in the current form, people make declarations about their health status, and the only thing that prevents them from filling false data is the possible repercussions due to the law. So besides that, we also are concerned about three other things, such as why the data is collected, how to protect the data that is collected, and how long the data is kept. So with the current paper form format, those answers to those questions are quite unclear. But in our situation, we have the verifiable credential system so that we can track these declarations and hold people accountable while also preserving their privacy. So in order to build this platform, we are looking to collaborate with government and regulators and other stakeholders around the world, such as yourself. And we are very excited to build this kind of verifiable credential network. Now, the second type of product that we have is a more fleshed out version of this. So instead of just a declaration, this is also integrates with healthcare providers and other members of the community. So this system is called a user-centric verifiable credential network. And the key part is that it is an interoperable system that can interoperably operate with other verifiable credential systems around the world, because it follows the standards such as W3C and DID, etc. Very importantly, it is GDPR compliant. And GDPR by design, which means that it is designed to adhere to the highest standards of privacy. It has customizable governance framework. What this means is that we are not the ones to define how healthy one is. Everyone has different policy, and that we can fit into any of the policies from government level to to county level, to organizational level, these different, we can accommodate these different cases. And finally, the most important thing is that we are available now. This is live. We are not a proof of concept, we're not a prototype. This is production ready. So once again, we're very excited to work with stakeholders and regulators from around the world, and we would love to collaborate with you to bring your country and the world back to normal. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriel. Now, I would like to pass the time to Mr. Paul Cho of ESRI China Hong Kong Limited to introduce the COVID-19 interactive dashboard. Over to you, Mr. Cho.
Thank you, Shelley. Sawadee ka, good afternoon, our friends in Thailand. Okay. The Hong Kong COVID-19, ESRI China Hong Kong has joined the Smart City Consortium as a volunteer to co-develop the COVID-19 dashboard together with the Hong Kong Government Development Bureau and Lands Department to effectively communicate the latest information of the epidemic to the Hong Kong public. The technology behind this COVID-19 dashboard is ArcGIS dashboard provided by ESRI. This dashboard technology can let the public easily to get the latest and real-time information of the epidemic through the charts and infographic as well as the map in the dashboard. It is also easily configurable and no programming is required, so that we can build this dashboard in few days' time. Riding on the world-class geospatial cloud ArcGIS Online, a scalable infrastructure, this dashboard can sustain a search in real time in a short period of time. Actually, the whole world is using this technology to monitor the COVID-19. So far, there has been 65 countries who has built 130 plus COVID-19 dashboard using this technology. Let me go through some special features of this dashboard. First of all, this dashboard is essentially a map-sensitive dashboard. That means when you click on the list, any item on the list, it will automatically zoom to the location of that case. Also, sometimes when there are too many cases and too many points to show on the map, we can use the clustering presentation to give a better visualization to the public so that they can view the distribution of the COVID-19 cases. Also, when times go on, there are lots of COVID-19 cases accumulated. We can also use this temporal animation function to see how the epidemic evolves. Last but not least, apart from map, we can also use many different kinds of charts to show the trend of the epidemics to the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cho. So next will be Prenetics. Mr. Danny Young will share with us their quick testing kit for COVID-19. Pass the time to you, Danny.
Great. Thank you. Nice to meet everyone here today. So just a quick background-wise about Prenetics-wise. Prenetics was started about 2015. Our core business is actually in genetic testing, DNA testing. So to date, we have tested over 400,000 people. We've also been very fortunate to have very strong strategic investors on board, basically from the last 4 or 5 years. So to date, we've also raised 50 million USD in the last 5 years, which makes us the most well-funded DNA testing or digital health company in the region. So our operations currently span 10 countries globally. We have about 150 employees globally as well. So as for COVID-19, we started work on COVID-19 testing solutions about 2 to 3 months ago, starting here in Hong Kong. And 2 months ago, we've also gotten a lot of international fame and PR because we are actually testing the Premier League in the UK. So they've contracted us to test about 40,000 players, media, and coaches in terms of resuming their season. So that contract is roughly about 50 million USD. In Hong Kong wise, we're working with AIA, Prudential, airports, globally, Cathay Pacific. So we're working with a lot of government and large corporates in terms of offering COVID-19 testing solutions. So what's the key differentiation in terms of what we're able to provide? I think the key differentiation is that we're able to provide a full end-to-end solution, including a real-time PCR lab test, the whole logistics, the barcode, the labeling, the results interpretation, digital results, as well as the digital health passport. So we've also, a few weeks ago, as part of the Premier League partnership, we introduced the world's first digital health passport that actually allows individuals, players, etc., to go into the stadium to verify when they've actually gotten tested and what aspect of the stadium they can actually have access to safely. So certainly in Hong Kong as well, we've now ramped up our capacity for testing to be able to test over 20,000 on a daily basis. So certainly with that amount of testing for COVID-19, there's a lot of automation that's necessary, a lot of expertise and know-how that's necessary. So certainly I think for Thailand-wise, very strategically, a good potential partnership can be in place to have our team help scale COVID-19 testing. And then certainly I think for us, we're looking at it also from a non-profit perspective. So that's why when we've set out to do the COVID-19 test here in Hong Kong and in the UK, the all-in cost is roughly about 100 USD. So that's considerably much lower than, let's say, the private hospitals or the private labs, etc. Because we're looking at this from a much more medium to long-term perspective in terms of how we can actually help organizations, companies, governments, airports, airlines return back to normalcy and back to travel. So certainly I think we have a lot of expertise within our company, and certainly we look forward to potential partnerships and expanding into Thailand.
Thank you. Thank you, Danny. So it's the time for our last speaker of this section. I would like to introduce Mr. Jimmy Chong of Skytech Creations. So Mr. Chong will share with us the e-race band and the geofencing technology. So I'll pass the time to you, Mr. Chong.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. During the COVID-19, we provide a tracker for the quarantine people. We developed the quarantine tracker in a very short period. The most challenge is we have to provide anti-takeoff system for the wristband to guarantee the quarantine people cannot take it off during the schedule of the quarantine. And our tracker have the very long battery life and waterproof and data encryption and the geofencing signal. We need to provide a really precise signal string to ensure the range of the area for the people. So in the system, we work with the Skytech, the Compathnion together for the software to provide a very protect of the privacy. The system will provide to protect the privacy issue, and okay, and sorry. And for the waterproof and the technology of the tracker is sorry. Okay. Okay. Based on the same technology, we are creating another solution for the with the geofencing to doing the contact tracing concept. By using the same technology, we can use the same application to detect the signal, the geofence signal, to for the user who contacted to the president with the tourists to contact the president during their travel. And then we can identify the low risk or high risk president who is doing the different position in the city. So on the hardware, we can provide the same already proved in the market that we are using for the existing quarantine tracker on the same hardware design. The idea is we can use the app to detect the tracker nearby you and recording by the app and saving the data in a really secure security method to the cloud server. Once, if one of the traveler have the problem for COVID-19, and we can trace back from the database and find who contacts with this patient and find out the potentially people to minimize the resources for doing some quarantine or some application to solve to minimize the number of people. If the president install the app, and you can see who were contact these people in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And also, we Skytech provide really high protecting data encryption technology to make sure every data will not leakage to others. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. So that's the final presentation of this section. So we will have a Q&A section. Let me see the question I got from the audience. The first question is for Imali. Dr. Lawrence Ma has joined us in this Q&A section. So our audience would like to know, are there any prevention measures to avoid any individuals from cheating on the compliance to the quarantine orders? So is there any measures you would recommend?
Okay, obviously people have come up with a lot of track and trace solutions, but I think the key is that for that to really work, I mean, you have to have the identity problem resolving that. Are you really tracking this person data, or are you tracking his family data? And that is provided by, say, blockchain and cryptography, and to have the provenance. And I think with this and with the trusted framework, I think this will prevent people from trying to cheat.
Thank you. So I got another question for Danny. Our audience would like to know, the rapid testing kits have proven useful for this pandemic. So how do you see these rapid testing kits can be applied to other disease or other usage in the future?
Well, I think it's clear to point out that there's realistically two types of different tests that is in the market basically to do COVID-19 testing, right? So one of it is the real-time PCR laboratory test. So this is detecting current infections in the viral load, right? And the other one aspect is the rapid test. But when you think about rapid tests, there's point-of-care rapid tests for current infections as well as rapid tests for looking at antibody testing to see if you actually had a current infection previously. So certainly, I think rapid testing has already been utilized in a lot of other infectious diseases and etc. already, but certainly I think if you look at the global demand, I think we still have a lot of work to actually need to do rapid testing for current infections, because I think right now one of the challenges is it still takes too long to get tested, because I think even from the real-time PCR test, you're taking anywhere about 4 to 6 hours. As we continue to develop the technology, I think if we can shorten this to, let's say, 1 to 2 hours, then certainly this can be a breakthrough. There are a lot of companies working on this currently, and so certainly I think there's still a lot of potential in the future that these technology get into the market, especially for travel use.
Thank you, Danny. So I got one question for Arthur. You touched on a little bit on the privacy issues just now. So our audience would like to know, how do you walk the fine line between monitoring the home quarantines and people's concern over the invention of privacy?
So for location tracking, privacy is very critical. We treat privacy more important than anyone else. So from the data source, we did not track any absolute whereabouts of the user. We just record the changes. So even for us, we cannot reverse engineer where is the user. I think it's very critical to protect the privacy. And for the user ID, we remove all the identity of a user. We only track the necessary, like the app ID, which has no user information. So even a hacker or a valid user from the back end cannot tell where is the user and who is the user. I think it is the highest level. And that's why we are able to be the first quarantine app released in Apple Store. And even Apple headquarters support us to release this app.
Thank you. So I got one question for ESRI China. Our audience would like to know, apart from monitoring of COVID-19, how can the mapping technology be applied on other business?
Oh, actually, mapping technology has been, and GIS technology has been applied in Thailand for many cases. And for example, the electricity company will use GIS to manage their distribution network. Even the beer company will use GIS in Thailand to help them to plan the distribution of the beer. And one last case, which is more famous, is the rescue of the the members of the junior football team in a cave in 2018. Actually, our company in Thailand has helped the government to do a 3D map of the cave to help the rescuer to rescue the football team.
Thank you. So that's almost the time. Actually, after hearing all the speeches from our speakers, we do feel that digital defense plays a really key role in fight against the COVID-19 in Hong Kong. So I'm glad to hear the sharing of Hong Kong companies. So thank you very much for our speakers joining us today. I hope our audience can find some useful products and services which can fit your COVID-19 needs. So I would like to also take this chance to invite you to join the HKTDC Bangkok Communities Line group. We will share the latest information and offer by HKTDC in Hong Kong and Thailand in the group. So please scan the code as shown on the screen to stay connected with us. So as mentioned, despite we don't have time to answer all the questions, if you would like to know more about any specific companies, please fill out a short survey after this Zoom meeting. The link will automatically pop up when the meetings end. In the form, you will find our company's profiles from our participants today, and you can find the options to arrange a one-on-one in-depth meeting between you and the Hong Kong companies. So we will follow up on your request after the meeting. So this marks the end of our virtual meeting today. May I thank you for all companies joining us today. I wish you a good day. Let's stay safe and stay connected. Bye-bye.